Hey, Brad, how about a song?
Remember when we used to, well, I didn't really partake. Remember we used to do improv rap?
Yeah, that was the shit.
Best part was that it was always really terrible.
I mean, that was the kind of the point, right?
Terrible. What? Hey y'all, my name's Jayborino. It ain't a simple weekend without flicking the beanie.
What does that even mean? My name's Jay Barino, and see, I can't even think of one thing.
My
I can
favorite
think of words
Pokemon,
that rhyme with Jay.
Steverino.
Nidorino.
If I'm ever in Reno, Nevada, you're gonna have yourself a good time because of my rhymes. The key is to just continue, no matter what. No matter if what you just said rhymes or was good at all. Just continue saying words.
Hey everyone, my name is Keith. So listen up now as I make this wreath. You can put it on your door, but not on the floor. I'd be real offended if you put it on the floor. That last part didn't really rhyme, did it?
I'm really offended. Don't put it on the floor, please.
I just want to reinforce that. Please don't do it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's installment of the Damage Per Second podcast. This is our 5th Damage Per Second podcast. This week we're doing it at 7:30 p.m. because I mistakenly made an announcement video that said 7:30 when very clearly the week before I said it'd be 7 o'clock. But hey, I don't have an excuse. We all make mistakes. It was just
We
stupid.
mostly just want to confuse and frustrate people.
Exactly.
Ensure that we never have any kind of returning audience.
We want to make sure we have a complete lack of consistency so that no one ever watches us again. Well, we're glad you can come and join us this week. We want to talk about, I was inspired last week by Keith's chat about Spec Ops: The Line, and I wanted to talk about how we feel game ratings, and by game ratings I mean like things that sites and magazines, like a 1 out of 10 or a 1 out of 5 or whatever, how those can be positive and negative, and what our opinions are on like how those matter at all. And I have a feeling we're going to have some differing perspectives on that. So, in terms of what we've been playing this week, I have still been playing Star Wars Battlefront a lot, but I've sort of hit that point where I'm getting a little tired of it. Because everybody, like, nobody goes 30-3 in any match unless they're using the exact same combination of items, and it's just really annoying to me.
Which game is it? I'm sorry.
Battlefront.
Battlefront,
Not
right?
well balanced. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can have a pretty good game, and a lot of people can have a pretty good game, but there's always, like, 1 or 2 people in every game that go, like, 30-2, and they use their bowcaster, jump pack, DL-44, garbage. And it's like, it's tiring, because I have such a good time in that game when like, nobody is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But when that's going on, it's quite annoying to me, so.
It's sad to see it when there's a game that's close, but one little thing that you feel could be fixed fairly easily just kind of screws up the whole balance. You see it a lot in online games.
Yes. But otherwise, I think that's about all I've been playing. I've been thinking about starting like a really intense single-player game here pretty soon, like Fallout 4 maybe. I've never played Skyrim. I thought about just like finally starting that and spending forever just playing that.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah.
It still holds up, looks beautiful, and you got a decent computer, so go ahead and mod it. Just spend a little bit of time and just replace some. Just like do some texture pack replacements. Get the high texture pack. Some people will have. I think when I played, I had like this. Oh, total conversion, whatever. I don't know. That it was just like an ultra graphics pack, and they had like a couple mods installed. It's crazy. People will work on anything. Like one guy, like the only mod he made for the game, he was like, yeah, I didn't like how all the chairs looked in the game, so I made a chair overhaul mod for Skyrim, and it's 3 gigabytes. And he just made textures for every single chair in the game, or every trunk in the game, or every, farm animal.
Cool.
But I think it's worth doing, especially if you haven't played the game before.
Okay, I'll probably do that. I mean, I haven't even bought Fallout 4 yet, so I'll probably take a look at it. Because I already own Skyrim, I just never played it. I mean,
It's
but
kind of a big
everybody has a
commitment.
bunch of games they haven't played on Steam, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're broke, you're like, well, this game's 99 cents, might as well buy it, right? And then next thing you know, you have 8 99-cent games in your library that you've never played.
8?
Yeah.
9, 10, however many.
I'm gonna say like 80, but
Yeah, yeah.
Humble indie bundles, you end up with 40 games in your Steam library that you've never played.
Yeah, I mean, I look through my own library, and there's games I don't even recognize. Like, I have no recollection of purchasing. I have no idea what they are. But they're in there, and I own them, and I'm like, is this like a free weekend? And it's not. It's just, I have no idea what it is.
You can do family sharing, so I family shared with one of my good friends. I was like, oh,
Are you
cool.
family? That's against the rules.
Yes, we are. I was like, oh, I'll get some good games out of this, you know? So I ended up with like 12 games, and then he ended up with 400 and something. So I was like, yay!
Brad, I'd really appreciate it if you could not talk about breaking the law on our podcast, 'cause I don't really want the feds to come and bust this whole thing up,
Feds.
you know?
Sorry.
And if they do, it'll be your fault.
Show me those papers.
Brett, what have you been playing this week?
I've started playing Rise of the Tomb Raider on the Xbox One.
That's the new one, right?
Yeah, it's a really cool indie game. Just kidding. You play as Lara Croft and you raid some tombs and she gets the shit kicked out of her at pretty much every possible moment. The game is really gruesome. It's not as gruesome as the first one, but
I'd say the first one, you just,
wow.
over time, just get the crap kicked out of you over and over too, right?
Oh yeah, but the deaths are way more graphic in the first one, because the first one you'd like be falling down a hill and then it's like, oh, you missed the cutscene. Well, here's a stake going right through her appendix and you can see it and she's trying to pull it out and then dying slowly on the screen. Like, oh, nice.
I remember that, yeah.
Some really, really terrible stuff. So it's not as graphic as that game, because I do die a lot because I'm pretty bad at video games. But I'm enjoying it just as much as the first one. I loved the first Tomb Raider that they remade, or whatever. I mean, it's more a I wouldn't even call it a remake. It's a reimagining. And it's cool.
I really enjoyed the first one of the new series. I thought it was great. I mean, something about it, I guess this sort of ties in with our topic later about, you know, game journalism and things like that, is like, oh, it's Tomb Raider, so it's going to be under like way more scrutiny because there's a female protagonist. And I don't know, that's the impression that I get. And this second one, though, has really been under the radar, probably because it was released the same day as Fallout 4. Not to mention StarCraft 2, both of which did very well. Obviously, Fallout 4 taking the huge piece of the pie there, but and it's exclusive to Xbox One.
Yeah,
Man.
not for a short amount of time. I think the PC version is coming out in January or something.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because I would love to play it. Someone says spin jump that thing that you can't get by, Brett. Oh, it's Dan. Dan says spin jump it.
Spin jump the thing.
I'm on it.
What have you been playing this week?
Yeah, it's really strange it's strange to me that they decided to release it on the same day as Fallout 4. Like, geez, just do it like a week earlier, a week later. I don't know the motivation behind that, but
Yeah.
yeah, Justin, you could play Skyrim or you could just play Fallout 4 and probably have a lot more fun.
You think so? It's the same company, isn't it? It's the same general idea.
Yeah, it's the same company, same general idea. It's been a long time since I played Skyrim for the first time, so I might not be remembering it correctly. And I remember having a lot of fun with it, but I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with Fallout, and I feel like that seems more down your alley than. I mean, I don't know. I guess, do you play more like action RPGs or like, you know, swords, whatever? I guess you do read a lot of fantasy books.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried playing Fallout New Vegas, and the problem with those types of games is, again, I've detailed this in the past, is like I get a little overwhelmed because I just constantly am thinking I'm missing something.
Yep. Yeah.
Just constantly, and that mindset sort of bothers me, and I can't get too far.
Yeah,
It's
I
just so fun being able to explore.
get way overstimulated by those games. I just don't know what to do with myself. I like linear games. I've learned. This
I
year
actually kind of
was
do too. Yeah, I mean,
this year was full of open world, and I just found myself overwhelmed by each one of them.
hmm I
Man,
completely agree with that. I mean, it was always about like, oh, what cool things can this game do? And then eventually it was just like, okay, what simple things can this game do? Because like I don't want a giant open world anymore. Like those games, if I commit to them, it's committing to like at least a month worth of just like playing nothing but that. And
Yeah.
yep. I get very addicted to them. I'm like the exact opposite. I get really drawn into open world stuff and linear games. I don't know why. I just I don't feel like I get. I'm not. I don't know. I guess I don't feel like I get very much out of them. I'm not sure why. And there are a few. There are a few examples of ones that I get a lot out of, but I'm never like. I don't know what the pull is to go back and play it. Like if I'm thinking about, and I like, Uncharted, but I barely started Tomb Raider, and I just kind of was, and I like The Last of Us, and people love those games. I just didn't feel any pull to go back, and I'm not sure what draws people to go back. I guess the story. So
Mhm.
maybe I wasn't far enough for the story to really have hooked me yet. But because for Fallout, it's like, oh, I'm like this close to these perks, and I'm, can craft all my weapons and get this cool new rifle, and I've almost got this person as my companion. So, and I want to go try out these things, but yeah, I don't quite get that in linear games.
Yeah, I guess for me, with that exact same type of mindset is, I'll be like, oh, I'm so close to this perk, and then en route to getting what I want, or I'm so close to finishing this gun, and then en route to that, I'll level up, and suddenly it's like, well, it's obsolete now, and you just go on to the next thing. And rather, I guess it's more that with many of those types of games, I feel like rather than I never check anything off my list of things to do, I just consistently add to it, and nothing ever gets finished.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess I agree with that. They have more frustrations than linear games. So I guess it's like complexity versus simplicity. And this is definitely like there is a lot of stuff like that in Fallout. The whole crafting system. So I guess I'll go into what I've been playing. So I've just been playing a ton of Fallout. I got it and have been playing like an irresponsible amount of this game. And it's I went in a direction where I put everything into like all the perks that I was getting was, like more experience. I want to find more ammo and caps. And they have these settlements that you can create there. And you can create up to like 30 settlements, and each of them you build manually using this construction system. And they have like resources and things that they need. So like hunger and water and like, so this probably sounds terrible to you. Like, because, they're getting attacked. You have to set up defenses for them. And it gets really overwhelming. But I was starting like, I'll get all these settlements set up early and then get this trade routes thing so that all my settlements can share inventory and whatever. And I like still haven't gotten any combat perks. And I am level like 29 or something. I feel like I haven't gotten any of them, but I've gotten like modding stuff and crafting stuff and settlement stuff. And at a certain point I'm like, what does any of this even get me? I feel like I could have just dumped. So my recommendation is get Fallout, just like explore until you're done with it, like done killing enemies, and just dump all of your points into strength and endurance and fight melee, like get a big hammer or something like that and use power armor, and just because I feel like you could do that with way less work and just like roll the whole game, and it'd probably be super fucking fun.
Hmm.
So that's my recommendation to you, because it's kind of like I kind of want to play through again with that build instead of doing all this other stuff. But I also am probably not going to want to play through all the, story, like, main quest stuff again. I'm still like not even close to finishing the game. I'm probably like a third of the way through it.
Yeah, that's something you hear people who play Skyrim a lot say. They're like, I, played 500 hours of this, game, but I'm not even close to finishing the main game because you just get sidetracked and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's the thing with those games is you just have to, it's the weird thing is that it's sort of like it starts off more fun than it ends because what you do, there's more content in it than you want to play. There's more content in it than is interesting. And usually you do everything else before you do the main quest. So by the time you finally decide to do the main quest, you're already like bored of everything else. Because, and I'm not bored yet, like I'm having a great time, but you're like, well, I guess I'm ready to finish this game, so I guess I'll go finish the main quest, and then you just force yourself through 5 quests that you don't really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like those games are just done when you get bored of it and then just don't even finish the main quest.
I've never finished a main quest in a Bethesda game. Just a personal problem, though, really.
No, I'm the same way, though. I mean, I finished Fallout 3, but I used a very extensive guide to play through that whole game, just to make sure like I did every single quest that's like even possible in that game. And it was crazy.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
That sounds like a nightmare.
See, that's the thing, though. That's the way I want to play those games, but that's also the reason why I just don't.
Yeah,
because it's not how you should play them.
It's interesting. It's like and I'm a little bit like that with certain things. Like I'm like, oh, I just don't have the like strength to start this game because I'm like I only started because I knew that's how it would be about Fallout. But I only started once I was watching Jen and I got the bug and I was like, all right, I got to play this because I know it's going to be like that and it's kind of stressful and it's like your personality is too. It's interesting, like the personality that's more, completionist or something like that is less excited about playing an open world game because it's just overwhelming in a way that it isn't to people who have no problem playing a game and then just like putting it down and missing stuff.
True, yeah. Brett, this is beautiful. Thank you for making my name in this game. I hope that someone online finds this and truly enjoys this level.
It was better than playing those unbeatable levels.
Yeah, what was up with that? Also, why does it a dog paw?
I don't know. That's just from Mario Paint.
That's real weird.
Oh, on the screen. Yeah, I realized I'm looking at my gamepad, so I don't see the TV, but I forgot that there's like a paw that comes up.
Yeah, it's real strange. It's actually it's quite jarring every time I see it.
That is bizarre. What the heck?
I think I can change.
Yeah, for people who are listening to this after the fact and not watching the video or whatever, Brett's playing Mario Maker. But I figure most of you guys are watching it on YouTube or watching us stream it.
He's drawing wieners. So anyways.
So I guess the topic for tonight, I wasn't sure. I was trying to think, like, have I been playing anything else this week? And the answer is no. Which is really sad, I guess. Yeah, nothing. I played a lot of Battlefront, and for as much as I say, like, oh, well, I didn't like it that much, I still pretty much exclusively played that this week, on top of what I record for my channel, so.
Well, you played some Axiom Verge, too, didn't you?
Oh, what am I thinking? Yes, I did. I played Axiom Verge because you played it last week, and I have to say that game is great. It is so good. If you liked Metroid, it is like a hack version of Metroid, because all of the items, I mean, there's way more items than Metroid, first of all, but then also you get all these items that really function to allow you to break the terrain, like not physically like smash it, but I mean like break the terrain in the sense like you glitch yourself through walls and things like that. It's really, really cool. So I would recommend that if you're a Metroid fan, or a Metroidvania fan rather. So thank you, Brett, for telling me about that, because I enjoyed that a lot.
You wonder like how much effort must have gone into making that game, especially that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was one person over the course of like 5 years or something.
You wonder, like, did they make an editor first and then use that to build all the levels, or did they just do this all in code with coordinates and crap? I don't know. How many years? How long did you say it took?
Like 5 or something years.
Jesus
I don't know the
Christ!
specifics, but
It's really well done, though. You can tell how much effort went into planning it out. I mean, any sort of Metroidvania game where you have to, sort of plan out, like, oh, you're going to backtrack to this point, but only when they have this tech, and things like that is pretty tough, I think.
Can you imagine being that deep into a project like that, like 5 years, and just like thinking like I have to finish this thing? Like that's so long.
Yeah. I mean, props to that guy though for I mean, how many people they come up with these grand plans and never finish because they
Yeah.
get maybe even a full year, if not more, maybe less. Most people would, if you're going to give up, it's going to be in the first couple months. But someone, they'll get 1 or 2 years in and then they're like, what am I supposed to do now? Like I can't finish this now. They realize it was like way more than they signed up for, and
Yeah. So people who are listening, just remember, like, don't do grand plans. Do like a really simple plan because it'll probably end up being grand and like way more complicated than you expect. But at least you might actually stand a chance at finishing it.
yes, I agree. I mean, that's something I've actually said a lot on my channel too, specifically for people who, I play a lot of custom content, and you see it, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but there are groups of people who I've noticed the grander the scale of the planning, the less likely anything will ever be made at all. So I guess, I mean, I'm not a map creator, but I am a content creator. So I feel like we as a group are still qualified to talk about this. And I would say, you can have a grand plan, but there's no point in mapping it all out too much until you get at least one thing solid just from the get-go,
Yeah,
Otherwise,
just release things
Yes.
as often as you can.
exactly. And then you can
In
always
small
go back
increments.
and modify them later to make a more grand plan after, I suppose. But
And then if you ever like have to like quit the project or something, at least you have something out there, and you're like, well, this is done. This is a thing that I built,
Mhm.
and it's worth something, rather than having it all, bogged down and in a mess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I suppose on to our topic for tonight. And again, this is going to be what our opinions are on the usefulness of game ratings. By game ratings, I mean things that either people, just random people, be like, give this game a 5, or a blogging site or a magazine, how useful we can think those can be, or unuseful rather, in what situations are they good, in what situations are they unhelpful, so on and so forth. So I actually have a really strong opinion on this, but I guess I'll save that if someone wants to start. Brett,
Yeah.
what's your opinion on this? Because I know that you're very much knowledgeable about this topic.
About game reviews and whatnot.
I would say like gaming journalism in general.
So, I like game reviews, and I think that the system's really broken where it is, but like, it's just weird because I still follow game reviews pretty religiously. It's like my religion. No.
So don't make fun of it, please.
Yeah, please. If I see a critic that I like give a game a 5, I probably won't even read the review, and I'll just buy whatever it is that they endorse. But then I feel like there's a lot of outliers that solely give scores because it's a bad score and they know that it'll get press. There's no tangible evidence of this. But it's just when a game is getting 9s and 10s and 11s, and then some website gives it a 6.5 for not very good reasons, you have to just wonder, like, do they really care? Because that's the one that has the Reddit thread with 30,000 comments, and the one that everybody goes to comment on and say what an idiot the writer is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you worked for a website, you know that you need traffic. That's how you get money. That's how or whatever you get. That's how you get the street cred.
Yeah. You want to have something unusual or interesting to say, but you hope that, having that as a goal doesn't inform your opinion on a game or tell you what score to give it.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm okay with reviews. I think the system's kind of broken, like I said, but in general, I like game reviews. Is that what you were expecting?
No, I mean, I had no expectations for what you guys were going to say. I just felt like, you seem to keep up with the current climate.
yeah,
I'm
like
not
what's
familiar
going
with a
on,
lot of
yeah.
individuals,
A lot of the
Okay,
sites and that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
lot of the sites, a lot of the drama, and
No, yeah. Usually, whenever a big game comes out, I'm in the review thread reading what certain critics are giving it and whatnot, and
yeah.
I know which critics I like and don't like. I'm not gonna say that, but you know.
I guess my more mild opinion is I think the score itself doesn't matter unless you know who the critic is, which is exactly what you said, Brett. And I think,
Yeah.
I mean, there no specific quote unquote gaming journalist, if that is a real thing, cares about you, the consumer. I hate to say that, but I really think in this age that we live in of BuzzFeed journalism, these people just want traffic. They are told to get traffic, and very rarely, even if it is somebody who does actually want to give a genuine, truthful review, can still get railroaded sometimes. And I just think that ultimately just this blog, this internet blogging culture, and I can't speak, I can't talk about that. We're doing a podcast right now about games, but it just seems pointless to me. And the only time that it should matter what a critic has to say is if it's someone that you have followed for a long time, who clearly has shown that they have similar tastes in games to you. A random critic that you've never heard of giving a score to a game just doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter at all because you don't know that person and you don't know what their preferences in games are. So what they have to say about a game, I just can't see how that could possibly be applicable to what you would like.
Yeah, so you can listen to their arguments and they can talk about the game and why it's good and why it's bad, and that might be valuable to you. But most people don't do that. They just look at the score and then they look at the aggregate Metacritic score or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Metacritic is like the only thing that matters these days. It doesn't even matter what certain reviewers give you. It's all Metacritic, and even certain companies or employees from companies have come out and said how important Metacritic ratings are. So that's kind of just scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
Imagine your pay is on the line because Giant Bomb gave you a 3 out of 5, which isn't bad in their book, but according to you, it's going to bring your Metacritic average down like 3 points or something. And,
Yeah. That's a really bizarre part of it, the fact that everybody has a different scale. And really, if you look at it, everything should be distributed evenly between 1 and 10 or 1 and 5 or whatever, or percentage-wise. But it's not. Probably the average, what would you say the average score of a game is? I feel like probably a 7 or something.
Yeah, maybe even higher.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, too, is think of a game that's critically acclaimed. Like, you hear about it, it's something that's really popular. What's the point of reading a stupid blog journal entry about it? You already know it's good. It's been reported as being great in every place. What does it matter if now Game Informer gives it a 9 now too? So I think the way that Brett, the way you put it was, people are going to go to the sites that they disagree with, and that's what generates tons of traffic. And that's why I think it's more about a lot of these sites are disingenuous than anything else. And that's what it perturbs me. I'm not saying they all are, but you have to go into it taking it with a grain of salt, kind of assuming that priority number one is to get clicks.
Yeah.
And it's in a market that's growing and popular, and that's kind of the only reason these sites exist in the first place.
So, first of all, it's a bizarre industry because you don't see this to the same extent in other critical industries. And I could be wrong about that, but I feel like more than anything else, does games journalism have? They're sponsored by games, and you saw. If you remember, and this happened quite a while ago now, but Jeff Gerstmann, when he was at GameSpot at the time, he gave Kane and Lynch bad review, and they happened to be sponsoring something, and they literally fired him for it. And then he went and created Giant Bomb, and since then, there was apologies about that, and Giant Bomb is back under CBS. Which is who owns GameSpot, but that's just showing these things do happen even at the biggest sites, and a lot of these people. The other thing is, if you're talking about indie journalism and things like that, these people are like idolize people in the games industry and they really want to be a part of it in some way. They're like, well, I'm not going to make a game, so I want to produce something that um, I want to produce something for the games industry, so I'll make this site or something.
Oh yeah.
But that influences they might not be objective about it. So right off the bat, it's a weird industry.
Yeah, it is a very
Ugh.
weird industry. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to I want to play video games for a living.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of times, I don't think being a game person is quite that, because when you're out on the field, the field, like if you're at a convention or something, you're interviewing people and you're talking to humans. It's not what every gamer envisions as the dream job, I don't think. So, I don't know.
Yeah, when we went, it was one of those things where it was like, man, I know this is going to be a great memory, but right now this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's extremely stressful, and I'm very tired.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how it was. It's a really good. I look back really fondly, but it was a cool experience. But yeah, I don't think that's what a lot of people expect.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing is, who are the reviews targeted at? And I'm not sure what the answer to that is. Are they targeted at parents? Parents want to go to Metacritic and just look, well, what's the best game? What can I get for my kid? Because maybe kids already know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another question. I guess, so I guess I'll get into my thing here. I see value in reviews or even in ratings, even in the rating system, because there are people who don't have very much money, and a lot of people have moved to this buy it or not, or a couple people anyway have moved to that in terms of their reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Should you buy the game or should you not? Because honestly, that's the decision they're trying to inform with the rating system. So like, well, yeah, we'll just tell them buy it or not. But if you have to choose between games, like you don't have enough money or enough time, then you might want a rating scale. So I see value in it, but then you get to the point where how do you do that effectively? How do you execute a good rating scale? Because do you rate all games on the same scale? Are you supposed to be comparing a sports game with Mario Maker or Mario Maker with Call of Duty? Games
Right.
that would appeal to totally different crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Are you supposed to be comparing them directly based on their review score? And then should it be divided into categories? Like, should we say, all right, 2 points of this is for graphics alone, just right off the bat. So if it has terrible graphics, it gets a 0. You know what I mean? Or should a game that maybe has, bad graphics, and bad replay value, it only takes 10 hours to beat, but it costs $10 and does something really creative with the story, can that still get a 10 or a 9?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just like, it's a nice idea, but hard to execute effectively.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
that.
answer is, but
it's more complex than it initially comes off, and I think your talk about Spec Ops: The Line last week was exactly why I thought of this topic, though. That game is a play, like you should play this. But if you were looking at it from like the current like review, like, oh, what do you give this game? That game is worth maybe a 6. You know what I mean? But it's worth a 6 in terms of gameplay, if even a 6, maybe a 5. It's not great, and then you hear the people who made it talk like, oh well, it's supposed to not be that fun to play. It's a commentary. That idea is cool, but that does not mean that your gameplay deserves a 10. So when someone sees, well, this game got a 5 out of 10 for gameplay, which it realistically should have, but it didn't. But like, let's pretend hypothetically it got that score like it deserved for gameplay, but then they see on Steam that it got mostly positive or overwhelmingly positive reviews from Metacritic.
Yeah.
How do they make an informed decision on what to buy there?
Yeah, exactly. Because most people would not They just won't purchase a game that's, under a 7.
Right.
If even that.
Exactly. And that's why I think just this simple numbered scoring is not that well informed in that sense. Like that's why the buy it or not system sounds great actually, and then just a reason for why, even just simple bullet points why to buy, as opposed to what the fuck is the difference between a 5 and a 4 or a 6 and a 7? I guarantee most game reviewers write these things in the span of 2 hours and could not tell you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
The score is an afterthought. You write an article that has some nuanced opinions about the game that no one will read, and then at the end you're like 4.
Yes, exactly. So I suppose that's my take on it. And again, I feel like it's a little extreme. I tend to be pretty ambivalent with this kind of stuff, but I have not read a review pretty much ever that really changed my mind, my preconceived notions on what a game is and whether I should buy it or not.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing is, like I said, I see value in having a score, but it can't be done effectively, and that's what I believe. I think that. And so when you consider how arbitrary these scores are already, then why bother having it? I'd say it's got its problems, but I agree with Justin, like buy it or don't buy it, then have some bullet points that you can scan and see, oh, okay, this game has really fun gameplay or great replayability. That's what I'm looking for, so I'll buy this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all you need.
And even a lot of it also comes down to the type of genre of games you like. Like, if you don't like real-time strategy, but Legacy of the Void, StarCraft 2, got an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, would you still like it if you played it? That score is very meaningless to you. So I would say, like, the score matters less than what you, as the player, what your preferences are. So that's why it's important to find someone who's reviewing that has the same preferences as you, or don't even bother, just look at the game. You have to be a little more diligent. Is this in a genre that I like? What do other players have to say? Okay, I guess I'll buy it because they liked it too.
Yeah. And I think that just from personal experience, finding a game that may not be universally well reviewed, that appeals to you specifically, or something that you like in a game, I think that can be a lot more rewarding, rather than, or something that's at least unexpected. If you played a lot of games, then you might know exactly what to expect from a game that you've played several times. I mean, you've played the prequels to it, right? And you enjoy that kind of gameplay or something, like the next Call of Duty game or something, the next Assassin's Creed game, even Fallout. You know what to expect from it. It's going to be fun, but you might get more enjoyment out of something unexpected, although it's a risk.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I think we're pretty much in agreement with a lot of this stuff, which is good, because I was afraid I was going to come into this and you guys would be like, well, this is why game reviews can be good, and I'm just like, I just don't think they're very worthwhile ever.
What'd you guys hear? So according to Polygon, Undertale is better than The Last of Us.
And I feel like that specific title right there is exactly, people are going to click on this. It doesn't even matter what the fuck is in the article. People will click on it and they will get ad money. If they even make the article even halfway coherent, then they'll get people to leave comments on it, and then that's more ad revenue. So it's just, it's just slimy. It feels slimy.
The shitty thing is the way that people treat game reviews too. I mean, you got to kind of blame people as well, because you could argue that game scores are completely pointless and arbitrary, and are basically only there because the system is archaic and people won't read a review without a score on it.
That's true. That's a good point.
So, you have to put this thing where people can get a bite-sized way of saying, hey, I'll buy this game, or hey, I won't buy this game. But then you've got people that come in and say, wow, Polygon thinks Undertale is better than The Last of Us because it got a higher score. Like, well, there are different games, you have different tastes, there's different reviewers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Exactly. I mean, the review score is probably based almost entirely on intangibles. There's so much that goes into it. You're like, well, it costs a sixth the price of The Last of Us at launch, or a third, and
I just think it's a shame that it feels like it's more about what can be inflammatory than anything else.
Yeah.
It's inflammatory over informative.
Yeah.
And whether that person who wrote that article about Undertale actually means that or not, how could we ever really know?
I was more being like general forum poster.
Yeah. Actually, I was reading something interesting about marketing, and I think it was where did I see this? I don't quite remember, but it was basically a marketing tactic where you purposefully make mistakes and you misspeak because you know that it will cause people to respond to you. And like someone who is a professional, not necessarily reviewer, but a professional journalist or what have you, they don't care if people like what they're writing. They just care that people are reading it. So it's actually in their best interest to write something incorrect somewhere. Like they want to be informed, but then at the very end, like if it's a top 10 list, the top like 6 or 7 will be highly regarded things that everyone will agree with. And then like the top 3 will be strange just to get people to comment on them and, get more reader engagement. And the fact that that's intentional, I mean, I don't know, what can you really do about that? But it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's depressing in the age of, I don't know, sort of internet journalism, because you wish that there could just be places where sort of respected, well, it's not to say that there aren't, but, I was going to say it would be nice if there were more places where respected journalists could just be like, yeah, I'm going to say, I don't have to worry about views.
Yes.
Like, it makes me sad to think of people who have interesting opinions worrying about views. And, yeah, I don't know.
For sure. I guess, I mean, the fact that we have a podcast and stuff, it's kind of funny because we're here giving opinions. But I guess my take on it is simply, I don't expect people to listen to me unless they're here because they've watched other stuff and they like what we have to say. Like I don't expect a random stranger to come in here and want them to just agree with me because I said it. Like I have not earned any sort of respect from someone who has not listened to anything else I've said.
I appreciate like having a conversation with people who might disagree, as long as they're nice to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess consensus is game scores can be good, but in some unique cases they're not.
They're not.
They're not. But I guess our anecdote for tonight, we can skip to this because it's also gaming related this week, so we could talk about this a little bit longer, is talk about one or more times in your past or present when you've gamed that you have just gotten absolutely furious.
I don't know. I have a temper.
Tell us all about it, Brett.
Actually, way better now. I used to have no patience with video games, and I can remember I was bad with breaking controllers, and that's like the worst offender of like, why would you do that? It's such a waste of money. Well, I was 15 and I was really stupid. That's probably why. So I don't know, I'd just be playing Halo 3, and it's the same thing with like Dota or any competitive game. It's like you get these people who are idiots, and then they start talking smack, and you get frustrated. So I'd just smash my controller, and I'd be like, wow, that was really stupid of me. I don't have a job. So
Yeah, it feels good for about 1 second, and then after that you're like,
not even. You're like,
hate myself.
Well, you throw the controller, and as it's, for the split second it's in the air, you release it from your hand, you're like, and then it breaks something, and you just, oh no.
Yeah. It's not advisable. Don't do it.
I've never put in a controller.
Good.
Okay, I haven't, but here, so I'll start on the specific stories because Brett reminded me of something, but Dark Souls, so Dark Souls, I did this in a responsible way. I literally did this. I set up a nest of pillows on my bed against the wall so that whenever I died to the Four Kings and I was like close enough to him dying that I would be extremely mad about it, I could just turn and like throw it into the pillow nest and it wouldn't break. And you know, it sounds stupid, but I may have saved myself a controller because it's a really long fight. And if you're not very good at the game yet, and you don't know what weapons to bring, then you know, it might save you a controller. I know Brett played through Super Meat Boy. He like, what did you do? Like platinumed it or whatever you call it.
I don't even.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were some of those moments there.
Yeah.
That game
is great, though.
infuriating.
Yeah.
That was funny. I like how we both said that game is, and I said great, and you said infuriating at the same time.
Both.
I was very serious about it at the time. It's been so long now. I barely remember playing through it. That was another like high school game. Hard to believe how long ago that was. But yeah, it was a testing time playing those games. I don't know. I was always into hard games, and I'd play like Guitar Hero, but you know, I didn't want to just play Guitar Hero. I wanted to hit every single note in the song. And then when my guitar would overstrum and I'd miss one note because my guitar malfunctioned, like nothing's more frustrating than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Dark Souls, you know, just beating a boss, but wait, no, you didn't beat it. Actually, there was like about 5 HP left, but since you got cocky, you just died like an idiot.
Yep.
Oh my god. That happened to me countless times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yes, he died. Oh shit! No, he just teleported. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, it's a second form. Cool. Oh, there's another one. Yay.
That's funny. You bring up like getting so close to killing something and you get just really cocky, especially when it's something that you've spent like hours practicing.
Oh gosh.
You, like have that momentary sigh of relief too early.
Yeah.
Oh.
But then when you
fundamental.
finally just admit, you're like, oh well, I guess it's just another hour.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I've had some pretty infuriating moments from recent times because I'm playing specifically from this StarCraft 1 mod that I'm playing called Legacy of the Confederation. And if you've never played StarCraft 1, StarCraft 1 is just plagued with really shitty everything. It's sort of like pathing. Like you're right-clicking your units to move somewhere and they just don't go. Like there's I'm not even joking. There is a literal instance where I have a unit, it's sitting there, and I'll right-click, and it simply just doesn't even move. And I spam right-click it, and I'm like, fucking go! And, and like, there's like a laser beam coming at me at that moment, and I'm like, go! And then he doesn't move, and you get fried by the laser. And it just, I'm recording at the time, and I feel like I kind of lose my shit, but not nearly as much as I'm feeling on the inside.
I've always wondered about that. Like, how do you not just... Like, if you're recording, how do you just not go, fuck, shit?
That's exactly. I mean, a lot of the times I'll let out something like a, that's a common one I do. But on the inside, I am just bellowing much louder. Because the biggest thing, especially when I'm recording, that I have an issue with is that I'm wasting a lot of time. Like, I hate, it's not that my time is more valuable, but, you know, I'm recording this stuff and I have a lot to record for each week. And I get stuck on one mission that takes me like 2 hours to finish because of one stupid little thing. And it's infuriating for me because, I mean, there have been many times I played custom campaigns and I don't think a lot of my viewers would ever really know it, but there are times when, you know, I'll get a little upset in the recording, but what they don't know is I spent like 2 hours off camera figuring it out and just being infuriated. And then when I'll finish the mission, I'll be like, oh, that was a fun mission. Little do they know that it was not a fun mission. I hated it.
So, who here have either of you played through Final Fantasy VII?
I have not.
Brett, did you play through it? Well, there are a couple enemies in that game. The weapons... Ultima Weapon is built into the game. He's the only one you actually... I think you have to beat him, but maybe not. But he's the only one who isn't, you know, not that hard. And then Emerald Weapon is underwater, and you can potentially beat him in that time. Or you can... end up getting screwed over because there's a time limit and you like drown or something explodes. And there's like a long way to circumvent that. And then Ruby Weapon is probably the hardest boss in any game ever. And it's not because of any good reason or any like trick. It's because he's just outrageously hard with a ridiculously high HP. He can just kill 2 of your allies. It's like a 3 versus 1 kind of thing in one hit, and probably murder you in one hit. Or if he can't, you just end up getting bogged down. And anyway, so let me just preface this. I was cheating to beat him. I had infinite life. I used a Game Shark, and it was me and 2 of my friends, and he had so much health that we stayed up all night, and we were just fighting him, just dealing damage, as fast as we could all night, and we'd switch off, and one of us would play, and the other one would like play catch with the third with like a baseball or something. And then we finally beat him after like 4 hours of doing this, like even with infinite life, and he just like disappears and it goes and he turns red and disappears, and we're like, oh, we fucking we beat him. And then just nothing happens. It just stays, and our characters are still in their fighting stance, just like pretending like he did not die. And that was it. It just did not progress to the end of the fight. And it was the most frustrating thing that has ever happened to me in a game, ever.
Wow.
I can imagine you spent all that time and then just like a game-breaking glitch. Like, not even the fact that it was hard, but the fact that it was just completely bugged out. Just ruins it.
And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like, oh, it's probably because you cheated and it bugged it out. No, it's because games back then were just buggy pieces of shit. And sometimes if you walked on your floor weird, your Nintendo 64 would stall, and or like a train came by, and you fucking. So that's just what happens occasionally. And so eventually I did beat him through cheating. There was a way you could sort of like line up. You can like mix and match your magic in that game. So if you like have a summon, and then you attach this quad magic thing to it, it just does the summon 4 times. And then you can use an ability called Mime, which does your previous ability, and then you attach that to quad magic, so it does that 4 times. So then I did the summon, and then I did quad magic, so I was doing the summon 16 times, and I just queued up about 100 of those, and then I left and went to school, and I came back at the end of the day, and I had beaten him.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah, and it wasn't worth it. I just shouldn't have done it, but you get like the best summon in the game from beating him, but the ironic thing is that like you kind of need that. You can get it manually through this long, annoying process, and you kind of need it to beat him in the first place. So it's sort of worthless.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my problems, too, is like, even though I know that I could completely circumvent something, I'm like, well, I know this is here now, so I'm going to spend as long as it takes to get this. It's a big mistake. I mean, this kind of circles back to, like, our talk about, like, Fallout and games like that earlier, is, like, when I played Fallout 3, right when I started, one thing I did, like, way early in the game, just because I knew that you could pay to get those permanent stat increases, is I made like a pilgrimage to Rivet City before doing anything. Do you know how hard it was to get across the wasteland at like level 2?
Diagonally across the whole thing,
to get to Rivet City, which is in the literal opposite end of where you start. Yeah, so that was crazy, and I don't know why I did that, but that's something I want to do as well. Is like I'll see there's like something secret you can get, but you could come back later and get it, but you get something really good for doing it, and I will just bang my head against the wall until I'll finish it, or I'll just quit the game. Ugh. Dota's a game. Mad.
Sorry, what? Dota gets you mad?
I was going to say, Dota's a game where I get pretty mad.
Yep. That game gets you... It's almost like cheating, though. I was thinking, like, after... One of you guys mentioned we were talking about planning this, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't even think about Dota. Because that's probably the angriest that I would get at any game in a long time. And,
I don't get mad at the game, though, to be clear.
Yeah. You get mad at other people or your teammates or something like that.
I
If like
hate that game.
if you guys lose and like someone will blame you or something like that, and you're like, ugh!
I uninstalled Dota again because I'm just so fed up with it. I swear this is like the worst patch I've ever played in because people are just trying the dumbest things and it's making me so mad. Ugh.
Are you serious? It's the worst.
I had a jungling treant protector in one of my games, and I go and look at his MMR, and he's got a 5k MMR, and it's like he's probably just playing with his friend on his 3k, and he's like, whatever, it's just party MMR. Like, so that's why I'm not having a serious game of this game right now, is because this idiot thinks he's too good for us. It's like,
I just, yeah, my thing that like why I get frustrated at games. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about, and I think when I get frustrated with a game, whether it's a video game or whether it's a there's some moments of this in StarCraft when I was playing through it, or if it's a card game, like, board game, like party game, whatever. It's if I lose and I don't understand why. Like, I don't know what I could have done better. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's like random and I realize it's like random and, I just, it's a bad luck of the draw, that's fine. But like, if I feel like there's something I could have done, but I can't figure out why. And I feel like Michael Cera and Superbad, and I'm just like, why did I even make that if you can't even fucking win? It's stupid.
yeah.
There were some games, I mean, a lot of older games were that way, where, like, it wasn't to, like, speed run or anything, but it was literally just to win. You had to be fucking precise. Precise.
Yeah.
Like, think back, like, 00 Agent GoldenEye. Those missions were things where, like, you had to be near perfect because you died, like, instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't know, like, where everything was and stuff like that, like, there aren't too many games like that anymore. And if they are like that, they're made knowing that they're supposed to be really hard, and like, that's kind of the
point.
gimmick of the game, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how difficult they used to make games.
Yes.
There was a point where I thought, oh yeah, I bet like I've been playing video games all my life. I bet like if I went back and played Mega Man, I'd be awesome at that now. Like that used to give me trouble, but I bet I'd just like wreck that game. Nope, it's extremely hard.
Yep.
It's really, really hard. It's like stupidly hard sometimes.
I remember when you were playing that in college, and you got that was really hard. I remember watching you play. That's crazy.
I was using an emulator that would like save your progress so you could load your state if you screw something up. It was still really hard.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I think my problem is that I didn't, like, I knew it a little bit, but I didn't get the whole point of the Mega Man games, which is that every boss is weak to something, so there's like a specific kind of order that you're supposed to do it in.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, you didn't have internet when you were playing Mega Man on your, Game Boy or on your SNES or whatever it was. So I just didn't know that for my whole childhood because I'm a stupid kid. I don't have the internet. So it was like the key to that game is that you have to switch and use specific weapons on specific bosses.
One thing, there was one specific instance, this was probably some of the angriest I've gotten, was for GameCube, I had Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader, and at the end of that game, if you get all gold medals, you unlock this really stupid mission called Endurance, which is exactly what it sounds like, and it was like, I think it was 100 waves of ships, and you had 3 tries, basically, you had 3 lives, and you went into it and you'd fly in one direction and then they'd come at you from one direction and then you'd fly around and then the next wave would come out once you killed all of them and like you couldn't get any of your health back. It was just, and then you had 3 lives and you had to finish it. And I will never forget. I was on the 98th wave. I finished it and the 99th wave spawned right next to me and just crashed into me and I died. The guys came over. I was by myself, so usually when I'm by myself, I don't get, like, infuriated, but I think I did, like, an audible, like, God, I was so upset, Because it was like 4 hours. It was like 3 or 4 hours of doing this, and to die not because I was overwhelmed, but because the enemy just spawned in a really shitty place.
Just some stupid thing.
Oh man, that was fucking dick. I'll never forget that.
Man.
Fucking dick.
Fucking dick. Well, hey, on the fucking dick note, we can wrap this up unless anybody else has any anger moments.
I think I covered it. Covered mine pretty much.
Yeah, really.
Brett, is this Super Mario Maker level going to be available for everyone to play?
Maybe.
I hope so. You put a lot of work into it.
I've really put my heart and soul into it.
It's something I like about Super Mario Maker is that people can stream it and then they finish it and they're like, yep, everybody play it now. Everybody can, it's a cool way that the audience can interact.
Mm-hmm.
They did that on, they kind of flipped it on Giant Bomb a little bit. I watched it and people from the audience told them what to build.
Yeah.
Like he told them what to build. And he's like, yeah, put a couple blocks there, like, up one, all right, down right, put one there, and you're going to put a cannon and have it shoot out this. And and so he built it, Dan Reggett from Giant Bomb, but, like, he didn't really understand any of it, and then he played through and he'd realize, like, how he was fucking himself over with the different stuff. Like, he'd, put blocks places, but didn't quite pay much attention. He's like, sure, here we go, 1, 2, 3, and he played again, and that was pretty interesting. And then at the end, he released it and everybody could play it.
Nice. Well, for next week, I had a viewer on my stream last night recommend that we talk about the value of games, and, I guess we've talked about this in bits and pieces in the past, so that's why I might make a good full-length thing, is someone said, they feel like you're getting less things for the same cost these days, and what makes the cost of a game and things like that.
Yeah, I could talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Well, hey, I hope everyone enjoyed this week. I feel a little bad now because I feel like maybe I got a little preachy during our main topic thing.
Yeah, you
but
did, but it's alright. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't even notice.
Cool.
It was fine.
Listen, it was divine.
Thanks, Brett. Well, hey, I hope everyone has a great, lovely end to their weekend and a good work week.
Yeah. And if you guys want to play this level, let me know in the comments, and I'll put the code somewhere that you can digest it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.